Hi, Iris J here with Madrona's Pulse Teachings, and this is my weekly Astro update video. And folks, I'm making this video for very particular energy that we are all able to access and dip into and dance with this weekend. It's a very beautiful energy, very healing energy. It's peaking this weekend on March 11th and 12th, and that said, it will last throughout the week. So we're in it now. And what this energy is it's been building. I've been posting about the Aries energy for a little while now. And I have just discovered this wonderful function of YouTube, which is the community tab, that I didn't even know existed. And so I always invite folks to follow me on Instagram, and I still invite you to follow me there if you're interested in near daily astro updates. But now I'll just post them on the community tab and YouTube as well, which I love. So you don't need to have an Instagram account to get my kind of writing posts that I do on a close to daily basis. Sometimes too much is going on. And so what we are talking about this week and this weekend is Vesta, Chiron, and Jupiter are all conjunct in Aries. So, Vesta and Chiron have been in a dance, and then Jupiter and Chiron were in a dance. And now all three of them have just come together. And this is really particular energy. And there's one other aspect that's adding a layer to this that I'll talk about. But it just feels so important to me to actually talk about this energy because it's very particular. It's very particular because if it was just Jupiter and Chiron, it would still be very significant energy, but it would be very different than with Vesta adding this other layer that is the divine feminine, that is our sacred hearth. So let's talk about this a little bit. Jupiter, Chiron, Vesta. We've got Jupiter, this very expansive self. Jupiter also has a very important dimension in our spirituality that's always present with Jupiter. Jupiter is, yes, abundance, yes, expansion, also wisdom, also one of the archetypes of the teacher. And so we have that very expansive, wise, joyful, Jupiter's joyful energy as well, with Chiron, who's our wounded healer. Chiron, who's a deep, deep seed of wisdom within us. Chiron, who, yes, is a very tender journey, depending upon our age, especially, where we usually relate to Chiron differently. Of course, we could be 20 years old and have a very wise Chiron soul within us. Chiron is also an energy that we usually mature into. We enter our Chiron return is a transit that we all go through around 50, give or take. And that's often when we kind of get the initiation into what will eventually be our elder years, which then happens around 8 years later with Saturn as well. All these different stages of entering our elder wise years. And yet Chiron is a place within us that is that wound that will never heal again, because, if you've seen other videos with me where I've talked about Chiron, because Chiron, that wound in us, and it's in our psyche, is a direct link and access to the archetype of the moment our souls separated from source eons ago. And so that imprint is there, and until we are one with source, that wound to a certain extent is also there. Now we can learn to be with that wound. We can also have beautiful meditative spiritual moments of oneness. This is what the Pisces archetype is all about, where we are back with source, and yet then the journey continues and we wake up and the layers come and go, and we find ourselves back in that kind of existential anxiety that can also be part of the gnawing of Chiron. So Chiron in that, so the wisdom and the healing and the teacher. Chiron in the myth was the teacher of all of our Greek heroes. He was the wise elder. And then we have Vesta in the mix too. Vesta, who is our sacred goddess of the hearth. She's tending the sacred flame She would have been, you know, in the myth, she's tending the sacred flame of the city, of the people, of the connection between the people and the gods. And within ourself, within the way that Vesta and we embody this archetype within ourself, she represents how we tend our own sacred flame. That is the direct link between this embodied form of Psyche, and the divine feminine. And she absolutely represents our sacred sexuality, the way that there is a layer and a dimension and an experience and an embodiment of our sexuality that is actually between us and all that is, between us and the goddess, between us and the divine mystery. That, yes, in sexual intimacy with one or more beings, that dimension is present, but it's also with Vesta a part of our sexuality that other humans actually also can't access. And when we weave all this together, we have a very expansive healing energy. You know, with Jupiter and Vesta there, even though Chiron can, you know, especially where we have Chiron in our chart, in our personal journeys, there can be quite a bit of tenderness and wounding and learning and growth and evolution there. But when Chiron is when transiting Chiron, singing in this kind of symphony with Jupiter and Vesta, these energies, they hopefully keep us from actually going into those depths that would be more of a trauma, shadow, that type of place. And they are actually just offering healing. We don't need to think about it. You know, this is really not thinking energy. Firstly, they're also in Aries, which I'm going to talk about. So that's fire energy that's present with them. Think about that fire igniting the sacred hearth within. And it's just as if, especially on the 11th and 12th, this is when these energies are, especially the 11th, they come into an exact conjunction. They're all very, very close to each other in this cosmos of our psyche that we feel in our bodies. And so when they are this close to each other, they are singing in unison, and there's such a balance. There's such a potential balance, because Jupiter can be quite a lot. Jupiter transits, you know, can be quite a lot. It's a lot of energy. It's a lot of expansion. Yet the Vesta and the Chiron can kind of balance that out. So what we really have is this beautiful balance of energies that we're able to be with. And like I said, we don't want to think very much about working with this intentionally. You could certainly set intentions, especially if you want to invite healing. If you're a survivor of sexual violence, this is some days when you could very gently and lovingly invite healing intentions. You could draw, you could dance. I think dancing is a beautiful way to come into this energy. And really, though, it's just witnessing, moving with the energy, witnessing ourselves, you know, just opening to it. Setting the intention to open does so much, and then we kind of let go. And it's very important that this energy is in Aries, because this is about us. This is about our individuating journey that we're all on, and it's about our healing. You know, all of these, especially Jupiter and Vesta. Chiron's been in Aries for a little while, but Jupiter and Vesta, they just finished their journey through Pisces, which was the closing out of a cycle, and they've come into Aries. The idea being that these, you know, with this fresh moving through Aries, that we're in a new dimension, we're in a new cycle of these energies, of this expansive self, of this wise self, of this creative spiritual self. And we want to evolve, we want to grow, we want to heal. And so this is about us, and we're allowed to let it be about us. Now, it might show up as we're interacting with others, or if it's in, you know, it depends where you have Aries in your chart. If you've got Aries in the 9th house or the 10th house or the 12th house, it's going to show up differently. It might show up when you're in a very public or populated space, and you might be interacting with others, but you really want to, you know, or if it's showing up in your 2nd house or it's showing up in your 1st house, you might have more of it coming up in your own process, in your own interior world. Could be both, but we just want to allow it there's a little bit of celebration going on here. Jupiter brings a little bit of celebration to ourselves, you know, especially if you're someone that is healing with difficult traumas, that is healing with sexual trauma, that is healing with these difficult experiences that we as humans hold in our bodies and our psyches and our memories, which is part of our body and psyche. And, you know, we could really just receive a healing. So that's why I wanted to make this video, because this weekend is an invitation in whatever practices you have. Maybe you want to do a ritual around that. Maybe you want to take your inner child in your hands and dance with her. Maybe you want to write a poem to her. You know, however this energy calls to you. Aries, your intuition. Aries, your instincts, your desires to be in relationship with this energy. You kind of want to follow that. And the other piece of this, the other aspect is that as this is going on, our goddess Pallas Athena is in Cancer, and she is squaring this energy, okay, especially on the 11th. And but as I said, it's taking us through the whole week, you know, and it'll be exact on the 11th and 12th, and then it will just start slowly separating, and they'll just create distance between our three, and that square will create distance as well. But with Pallas Athena, you know, Athena is a very particular goddess because she's the divine feminine. She's the divine feminine of strategy. She's the divine feminine. She's a goddess of war, right? She's also the goddess of weaving, and she has a very creative intelligence. She's creative intelligence. She's wisdom. And she has a fierceness to her. I mean, she can strategize wars, right? She can help us systemize our lives and create order in a way that also is about power, also is about empowering us and achieving what we want. And yet she's in Cancer right now. And so this is adding this layer of deep nourishment from her. You know, this creative wisdom it's a softer side of Pallas Athena, that we could think of it as like a fierceness about our nourishment, about our wound tending through being in the womb of the mother. So as this is happening, you know, allow the Aries energy to be about nourishing yourself, to be about potentially reparenting ourselves. That theme might even come up, but there's also Jupiter here who wants us to kind of step out about a bit, right? So there's this, again, it's just about a nice balance. It's just about a nice balance of this expansive energy, this healing energy, this deep wisdom energy, this creative energy, allowing us also, maybe allowing Athena to let us make a little cocoon around ourselves so that we can really just embody and play and be with this energy and move with this energy, because it is Aries, it is a fire sign, right? So I am going to leave you with that. I hope that there's one little something that resonated with you and you can take that into your week, especially this weekend. I hope that wherever you are in the globe as you're watching this, that you're doing well, and I will see you soon. Take care.